I remember back when FFXIV was first released. I originally tried to get in the beta and was accepted, but my computer couldn't handle it. So I had to kind of watch a friend of mine stream it through Skype. And then, to tell you the truth, I was quite excited, except for the fact that it kind of crashed regularly. But, you know, those were some good times with the anticipation alone. Having played with 11 for so long, I was looking forward to a fresh start. I never actually role-played much before. I tried to in 11, but the server I was on was mostly for endgame, you know, PowerShells and all that. So there really wasn't, you know, a community for role-playing there. It's more or less a shell here or there, and they really didn't go anywhere. So when 14 came out, I was a couple of weeks late getting into the game, picking up my new computer, when I have to say, I logged into the game and I had no idea what to do. It was confusing as heck. There was very little tutorial. I kept looking back and forth to the manual in hand just to try to figure out how things went. And it was during one of the very, very early quests that I actually encountered my first group of role players. I met Sylvia, Wynn, and a few of the other members of Tail at the time. Now, I was pretty much intent at that point that I wanted to join a roleplay server because I was down with the endgame for the most part after 11. And I wanted something a little bit more relaxing, something a little bit easier, so to speak. Now, I have to say that during my time at Tail, it had its ups and its downs. I mean, what shell doesn't, honestly. I ended up leaving Tail eventually and joined another group called the Everwatch. Now, the Everwatch eventually disbanded just before the end of the game, so my experiences are more so tied to the roleplay running through the game, because when the first amount of the game came out, it was borderline unplayable, and it was so difficult to see any potential light in that game. So when people quit, I honestly don't blame them. The only way to skill up, even if you were a magic user, was by attacking the mob, landing a hit, and hoping that you would get some physical experience points, because you really wouldn't get them any other way. And it went on like that for, I think, better part of 2 months. So leveling was a real struggle, and when we heard that somebody within a month had gotten a job to 50, there was a lot of, well, people didn't know what the heck the person did, because back then there was a cap on the amount of experience you could get over time, because what it would do is it would force you to side level, and by grinding your one job up and up and up and up and up, it would slowly cut back the amount of experience you would get until you got nothing per kill, or nothing per quest, or nothing per craft. And it was pretty ridiculous, to be completely honest. They said it was their way to make it so that way people would level other jobs and expand their horizons, when in essence every job was almost identical except for the difference of weapon you used. Now, they did manage to fix that, and I remember I was out partying with a friend of mine, and I needed to go get a drink because I was dead thirsty after a couple of hours of playing. And I went AFK expecting to have no experience because obviously I wasn't beating on the mob. And I went for my drink, came back, and apparently I had leveled. And we stood there for a moment and we were like, what? Because normally in an MMO or any other RPG, if you kill a mob, you get experience. So to sit there and go, what? It was a really confusing moment. I had no idea that I actually had gained experience by being in a party with someone while we killed something, not by actually having to hit it myself. And yeah, I suppose you could consider that a form of power leveling, but it wasn't power leveling. We were partying together and I had just gone to get a drink. So that was the first turnaround point, I think, of when things actually started to improve. And it was shortly after that that Yoshida took over. Now, we had gotten auto attacks, and adding auto attacks, yeah, helped rebalance some things. But the problem was when they rebalanced stuff on our side, for players, they didn't rebalance them for the mobs. It used to be like, Thaumaturgus had an ability called Shadow Seer, and it was overpowered. I mean, seriously, Shadow Seer would just destroy anything. So if you leveled a Conjurer and wanted to be essentially a Black Mage, because the Conjurers had the elemental nukes, it was basically like, nope, go reroll, go play a Thaumaturge. Thaumaturge also had another skill that was particularly low level, and you could equip skills regardless of level in that game. Like if you had like a level 50 Conjurer and Thaumaturge, you could equip the level 50 skills on your level 1 Gladiator. I mean, it was broken, absolutely broken. There was one skill that they had that basically, whatever amount of damage the mob dealt to you, it would take that exact same damage back. It was some kind of thorn spell. And I remember what some people did was they made a group of about 7 or 8 people with that skill at level 1, and they would go up to an NM, and they would pop it, let the NM hit them for a ridiculous amount of damage, and then the NM would get hit by that same amount of damage. And what they would do is they would res over at the Aetheryte Crystal and run back up there and do it again. It was broken, and there was a lot of things that were broken about the game at first. I honestly have to say, if it wasn't for the roleplay community, though, I probably wouldn't have stuck around. I probably would have either gone back to 11 or quit MMOs altogether. I made so many friends in the community. Good Morning Eorzea is kind of like my way to say thanks to those people who helped me stick around and to be more passionate about the game and the community. And I want to essentially return the favor. I want to get more interest. I want people to enjoy the experiences that I had in their own way. To realize that, yes, the original launch of 14 did horribly. Nobody's going to deny that. But the fact that it came around so good by the end, the questline, the story, the mechanics, the jobs, everything came back, everything came together. The fact that we got chocobos, oh my god. Do you have any idea what it's like to play a Final Fantasy game without a chocobo? You have no idea. Like, Final Fantasy 1, they didn't have them invented yet, but that's not the point. The point is, you had no chocobos for transportation, you had no airships for transportation. The only form of transportation you had was either your 2 feet, teleporting, or taking the ferry from Limsa to a small suburb. That was your transportation for the game at first. I am floored with how well Realm Reborn is coming along. I mean, every game has its quirks, and the Realm Reborn is not going to be without them. It's a given fact. But it's so wonderful to see the changes in the game, in the community, to see people coming together. I mean, yes, there are some witches in there that some people drive home, but I mean, it's a relaunch. It's not a new game, people. It's a relaunch. So, the legacy players aren't going anywhere, and we're not this huge conglomerate amount of people. If we were as large a player base as some of these people fear, they wouldn't have closed down the original game to remake it into 2.0. I know I'm covering a whole bunch of different subjects here, and this is supposed to be my thoughts about how I transitioned from 1.0 to 2.0, but it's just, there's so many experiences for so many people in so many different parts of this community. Like, I could sit here for hours and never be able to run out of material. It's just... I'm going to tell you a story about something that kind of rocked a lot of players' worlds. There was an event, a storytelling event, when I was in Tail. It would be January 2011. January 6th, to be exact. It was a storytelling event, and we were all grouped around telling stories when one of our members got up and said they were heading out, which they weren't the first person to leave, so it didn't really seem particularly unusual. Apparently nobody, or at least nobody I knew, was aware of what was going to happen next. The player had apparently decided at that point that they no longer wanted to play 14. But they also didn't want their character to just vanish into thin air and leave people without something. Or at least that's my take on what happened, because I'm not exactly sure. But the character walked off, and after a few minutes we heard over the link shell that something was attacking the character, and the character was dead. And there was a lot of in-character and a lot of out-of-character confusion, despair, pain, and to be fair, it brought the community of us there together quite tightly. And I remember there was a lot of conversation about what we should do about it, and there was a lot of questions about why. But it just goes to show that it's not the game more so that makes the experience in regards to the community. It's the players. It's each person who's playing this game next to you, across from you, in another country. And it's just each of these people that you see in this game can and might actually affect the way you think about things. So, I remember the good times, the bad times, and I also am looking forward to making new memories with all of you. Thank you.